Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a continued passion for public television, we are proud to underwrite Steppin Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES Television.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. The American Italian Cultural Center and Museum on South Peters in New Orleans offers event venue space, Italian language classes, dual citizenship and translation services, seminars, genealogy, and trips to Italy. Ciao! AmericanItalianCulturalCenter.com. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. What a show. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hey, Miss Poppy.
Hello, Miss Peg. Thanks.
Ooh, Gwen Thompkins is back. And of course, she is an author and radio host for Music Inside Out on WWNO. Hi.
Hello,
good to see
Peggy.
you. Hello,
nice
dear.
to see you.
And Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News and theatercriticism.com. Hello, Mr.
Hello.
Allen. A little while later, we will have a performance by the Continental Drifters. We're so excited. Poppy's second week of Jazz Fest with your recommendations.
My
please.
friend, I have seen, I have been, I have eaten. And Peggy, let's get started by talking about what really was going on last Friday, because it was not really the credit cards that was the issue.
It was too many people. I mean, you know, I'm glad, because that means good things for the Jazz Fest, but there were just so many people, because I was in the line, and I know it wasn't that. It wasn't the whole other thing.
When Vance Vokerson runs out of bread the first day at 1 o'clock, and then runs out a second time at 5, you know that something's not right. They were those vendors were selling more food than they knew what to do with. So stop blaming the festival and the credit cards. It isn't that when it comes to the food. But talk about the food. Now, maybe you might remember from last year, there was a new vendor, TCA Brocado. Now, that A does not stand for Angelo. It has nothing to do with our friends over on Carrollton. But, oh, my God, this is their new dish this year, dishes, the barbecue and the buffalo oysters. Do like me. Just get them both, because I think that that little pickled onion is really good on the barbecue oyster, too. That was an incredible dish. And then, of course, the dish I fell in love with last year was the eggplant brocado. Remember that one?
I had that. It was great.
It was delicious, wasn't it? And then, of course, they also have what they call Nola Street corn, which is that elote corn that everybody loves so much. Another new dish, the turducken poor boy. Now, it is not the turducken that you're thinking of at Thanksgiving, but oh God, is it good. It's got duck and turkey and chicken all cooked in this New Orleans-style brown gravy on a poor boy that was just too delicious for words. Then another one of the new dishes, and this was Down Home Creole Cooking, who has the spinach artichoke casserole, the seafood au gratin, and the sunflower green salad. That's a new combo this year. And that turducken is from CCI Catering. These are folks without restaurants, and you'd never know them other than at Jazz Fest. Over in Heritage Square, that rum pecan cake, oh God, it's good. The strawberry cheesecake and the lemon layer cake, all highly recommended. When it comes to sweets, head over to Congo Square, where you will find my new friend, Kiela. And Kiela has some very yummy things that include her name is Kiela, so that's key cake with a warm bourbon pecan sauce. She has a mocha chocolate cupcake, and then I brought some. I've been to the festival, so help yourself. Let's have a little mixed nut brittle. This is also from Kiela. Have some and pass it around.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I cannot mention Jazz Fest without mentioning, don't forget the affogato. There is my darling husband with how I like the affogato with a double shot of espresso. So he's got him there. And of course, that's La Divina Gelateria across from the new Sober tent and near the kids area. All that's new. Now coming this weekend, spend some time in the crafts area and go see our dear friend Thomas Mann. He has a new Food Hero jewelry line. On my hat, you will see I've got Leah Chase, there's Susan Spicer, there's Paul Prudhomme in his redfish.
Clever.
This is the beginning of a whole, Tom's a huge foodie, and he's coming out with a whole new food line of jewelry later on this summer. Everybody knows that's where my knife comes from, that's where my earrings come from, and then
That's where my flower comes from.
and that's where your flower comes from, Gwen. So don't forget all that. And then, if you're at the festival Saturday, the #1 place to be is at the Food Heritage Stage at 1:30, when once again we are rolling out drag brunch. And I thought everybody might like to see what it looks like from the stage, because there we are doing the first one last year, and look at that SRO. So see you at the festival.
And that's on Saturday.
And that's on Saturday
Okay, very
from 1:30 to 3:30 in the grandstand, Food Heritage
Thank you
Stage.
so much. And Gwen, second
Fantastic.
weekend.
Wow,
Jazz Fest.
exactly. I have to say, I'm looking forward to seeing more reporting on the new cashless festival. It might be too early to know what the impact has been, and I have to say, most musicians who I know deal in cash. So I'm hoping that it doesn't in any way sort of single out people who would love to take part of in all the festival has to offer. But I have to say, I have plotted out a course for the second weekend that really relies on a lot of artists who have real strong ties to New Orleans. On Friday, Linda Segura is going to be at the Cultural Exchange Pavilion, which is celebrating Puerto Rico this year. Linda Segura, you might acknowledge them as Hooray for the Riffraff. Raised in New York, Puerto Rican roots, moved to New Orleans, then Nashville, then back to New Orleans again. Has put out a terrific album called The Navigator. That was back in 2017, in which it follows a Puerto Rican protagonist, a folk punk person taking a journey through New York. So I think that might be what Segura is going to perform, or other songs from Puerto Rico. Also, the Lily Lewis Project. Lily Lewis is a terrific Americana artist based here. She ran a record label down here for many, many years. And her most recent album in 2021 is called Americana. It's fantastic. It's gotten all kinds of national publicity through NPR and also Rolling Stone. She will be at the Langyap stage from 3 until 3:55 on Friday. I should also mention, of course, that Linda Segura will be at the Cultural Exchange Pavilion from 1:55 to 2:45. Atabal. They are a Puerto Rican large band, also based in New York. I listened to some of their music recently, and I just love it. It's big band, it's percussion, bomba, which is percussion, singing, and dancers, along with salsa and jazz. And the wonderful, wicked rhythms, but also terrific, strong melodies, which is what makes you really want to stick around. And so Atabal will be at the Cultural Exchange Pavilion celebrating Puerto Rico from 4:45 until 5:45 on Friday. And then on Saturday, Ife. Now, Ife is a very interesting character and a very interesting band. The character is Otura Moon, who I interviewed a while back, actually, for World Cafe. This is a Midwesterner. He came from Indiana, I believe, who was very much influenced by Nigerian and Latino rhythms. And so he's lived in Puerto Rico for for many, many years before moving back to New Orleans. And so he does a terrific sort of highly spiritual, highly danceable, electronica event, and it's far out, it's wonderful, you're going to love dancing to it. Ife at the Cultural Exchange Pavilion for Puerto Rico, celebrating Puerto Rico from 12:45 till 1:55 on Saturday. David Shaw. Now, David Shaw is the lead singer, of course, for the Revivalists, and I don't believe that they performed last weekend. I think that they were out for sickness, right? But David Shaw is up. He's on deck, and he's going to be performing as a solo artist. He put out a terrific solo album not that long ago. I interviewed him also for World Cafe, and he was just great. He's a dynamic, sort of fidgety performer. He's a good writer, and his songs really become earworms. And he also has a pair of trousers in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Did you know that? And also, he's going to be at the Gentilly stage, David Shaw, from 2:35 until 3:25. Dee Dee Bridgewater, who, of course, lives in New Orleans, an international, just delight. She's she's a pro. She's got the voice, she's got the drama, she's got the humor. Bridgewater, she has it all, and she tours the world, and I love the fact that she lives here in New Orleans. And she's going to be performing at the WWOZ Jazz Tent from 4:05 until 5:20. So that's going to be great. And then on Sunday, I think it's always a good idea to start with a little funk on Sunday, and that's Galactic, of course. Galactic always puts on a great show. They not only own Tipitina's, but in many instances they own New Orleans. You know what I mean? Because they've got terrific rhythms, and they feature right now Angelica Jelly Joseph as their front woman. Now this is they have wonderful taste, and over the years they have not introduced New Orleans, but they've certainly made New Orleans very much aware of wonderful female performers, including Erica Falls, Maggie Kerner, and now Angelica Jelly Joseph. Excuse me. She's going to be leading Galactic on the festival stage from 1:55 until 3:10. And then I really think that people should go to the Allison Minor stage, because it's just a terrific opportunity to hear artists talk about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And it's a great time to see national artists, actually, and that would include Melissa Etheridge, wow, who is a terrific artist. This woman has been around forever. She has a story to tell. I don't know if she's written a book, but she should. Mm-hmm. And she's had she's just knows the ups and downs of the industry, and she's had an extraordinary few years. She was quite close to David Crosby, who passed away not that long ago, and I would just really like to hear what she has to say about her life, about her music, about music in general. And that's going to be, she's going to be with Allison Fensterstock, who's a terrific interviewer, and that's going to be at the Allison Minor Music Heritage Stage from 3 o'clock until 3:45. And then lastly, David Torkanowski, who I just, you can't have music in New Orleans without David Torkanowski. He is doing something very strange, not strange, but unusual. He's heading his own band. Normally he just, he leads other people's bands for them. But he is doing a tribute to what is called the ELM Music Company, and that's Ellis Marsalis, of course, Louis Marsalis. And he's going to be accompanied by Ellis's last group of sidemen, and they're going to be performing Marsalis's music that he and James Black wrote many years ago in the 1970s, and that'll include Derek Duguay on sax, Ashlyn Parker on trumpet, Jason Stewart on bass. All right. That's 2:40 to 3:40 at the WWOZ Jazz Tent.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Love the lineup. Thank you very much, though, Gwen. And the beloved band, the Continental Drifters, have reunited for 3 public performances in New Orleans this weekend, including one at the Jazz Fest. Just a few hours ago, they came by to play for us. We are so thrilled to be with the Continental Drifters. Peter, please introduce the band.
My pleasure. On mandolin is Robert Maché. On electric bass, our founder and bass player is Mark Walton. On drums and rubboard, Russ Broussard. On one acoustic guitar, Victoria Peterson. On the other acoustic guitar, Susan Cowsill. And I'm Peter Holzapfel.
And everybody has some pretty illustrious resumes, but just real quick, Vicky is a Bengal, okay. And Susan Cowsill, hello, the Cowsills. Anyway, we're thrilled, and you all are illustrious too. We're thrilled everybody's here, right? There's a lot of illustriousness here.
You can't be in the Continental Drifters unless you're illustrious.
Exactly, very much so. Well, let's talk about all of these events you've got. You know, you've come together, and Friday night, you're going to be at Jimmy's at the Willow.
I know, it's very exciting because we used to play there a lot back in the DB's days, and the Continental Drifters have done a fair amount of time there as well, and we're playing with Tommy McLean and CeCe Adcock, which is going to be amazing. So we invite everybody to come down. There's going to be a donation made in the name of our fallen comrade, Carla Nuccio, to the American Cancer Society, and so we hope everybody will come down to that show.
Absolutely, and Carlo is so missed. He was in so many bands, and of course this one, and I understand, one of the founders as well.
He was indeed, and his presence is always with us.
Yes, what a guy. And then Sunday at the Jazz Fest.
That's right. At, somebody tell me what time. What? 2:10 at the Gentilly stage.
All right.
That's
oh my
right.
goodness, you're in such good company. And then Sunday night, Chicky Wawa.
Continental Drifters and Friends, and we're going to do one of those, are they ever going to stop shows? I think, because that will be the first time that we'll have a chance to really sort of stretch out.
So what are you going to play for us?
We are going to do a couple of songs for you today. We're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is Watermark, a song of Vicky's.
Well, let me get out of the way. And once again, ContinentalDrifters.com for more info. We're thrilled you're here. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
There's a watermark, the tears are all dried and leaving a stain on an empty heart where nothing is right, ain't nothing like rain. Oh, and when it falls down on me, oh, and when it falls down on me, there's a man I know, he's keeping his face turned into the light. I can see the glow shine into the dark, shine into the night. Oh, and when it shines down on me, oh, and when it shines down on me, oh, I believe. There's a watermark, the tears are all dried and leaving a stain on an empty heart where nothing is right, ain't nothing like rain. Oh, and when it falls down on me, oh, and when it falls down on me, oh, I believe. Oh, and when it falls down on me, oh,
Woo! It's the 25th anniversary of their Vermilion album, and the two songs that you'll hear tonight are from that. You can keep up with the Continental Drifters activities as they happen at continentaldrifters.com. Alan!
So a couple of weeks ago, before Jazz Fest, I mentioned the Jazz Fest Shabbat at Touro Synagogue, and they celebrated their 30th anniversary last weekend. Here are some of the photos that I took at this packed event last week that I thought I'd like to share. Gwen, you know, you can't always go to the festival grounds to see everything that's happening at Jazz Fest. This is the celebration of New Orleans musical culture and a special religious observance. It's a concert and a service that was made all the more special this year because the leader of Chawa, there he is, Joe Gelini, and his bride, Jessie Wyken, who's the chef instructor at NOCA, they are members of Touro Synagogue. It was like coming home to them. Kevin Margolius welcomed the members of Chawa, who combined the funky stylings of New Orleans with Mardi Gras Indian culture, with backing by the Panorama Jazz Band and the 32-member choir. It was fantastic. Sophia Riggio conducted it as well. It's one of the highlights of the first Jazz Fest weekend for me. Meanwhile, you know, if you get a chance, next year will be their 31st, so check that out. And it is free. That's the one thing I like to let everybody know if you go there. And if you're Jewish, it couldn't hurt, right? So meanwhile, James Marchant, who's a professor at UNO, was instrumental, if you'll pardon the pun, in getting a rare musical at UNO produced at the Film and Theater Department. It's called Closer to Heaven. Closer to Heaven has a soundtrack by the Pet Shop Boys, but don't expect their biggest hit, West End Girls, in it. Instead, the two gay icons provide 16 different songs and 5 reprises of songs that are basically dealing with relationships. Straight Dave is played by Mason Willis. He's a bartender at a disco bar. Despite his name, he hasn't quite made up his mind. Kalo Gao, who directed this rare musical at UNO, along with Adrian Simmons, who does a lot of the choreography with Himshri Nupani, has a very energetic cast. Of course, they're all students navigating a difficult book by Jonathan Harvey. Recent graduate Aaron Brewer, you can see him in Darkness there, is seen playing a father to Adrian Simmons, both turning in really noteworthy performances in the student production, and also playing an almost motherly figure. I kind of look at her as sort of like a Grace Slick, is Laurel Tannehill, who plays Billy Trix, an icon right out of the 60s. Again, Closer to Heaven has 2 shows left on the 5th and the 6th. If you want to support the university productions there, they would love to see you. Now, if you haven't made plans for Mother's Day, may I make a suggestion that you may like and may prove to be beneficial for you, one that your mom's bound to love and treasure, and it's one that will score big for you as well by taking her out to lunch, and that's Letters from Home. This is at the National World War II Museum's BB Stage Door Canteen. It's Letters from Home. They've embarked on a 50-state tour, and they arrive in New Orleans, the official stop in Louisiana, for Mother's Day, May 14th at 2 p.m. This is a show with lunch prior to it. And again, Letters from Home celebrates letter-writing campaigns between home and the home front. You can book the show and the brunch online at the National World War II Museum site, or call that number 528-1943. Now, from the sublime to the ridiculous, Broadway was treated to the SpongeBob musical a few years ago, right before the pandemic. Now, to a lot of people who were surprised, this turned out to be a pretty good musical. It's a Nickelodeon-inspired musical that garnered a number of awards, including a Tony Award for scenic design. SpongeBob will be seen starting Friday night at Rivertown Theaters, directed by Gary Rucker, and I'll be reviewing the show for next week, but in the meantime, I wanted to let everybody know about their next season. Yes, Peggy?
And we'll have to wait until next week to do that, because now I know you wanted to mention Kinky Boots. You didn't want to miss that.
Okay.
But that's coming up.
Okay, so we'll just move right on ahead.
Yeah.
And yes, Rivertown, you'll get that next week. So yeah, Kinky Boots is going to be at the Cutting Edge Theater on Robert Boulevard in Slidell, Louisiana. And unfortunately, I can't tell you about the cast because I've just seen some pictures, etc. Okay. I may be able to review it. Depends on whether or not I have time next week.
You will, I promise. Time for picks. Poppy.
Well, you know, if you can't come Saturday, go make reservations. Poppy's Pop-Up Drag Brunch every last Sunday of the month through June, July, August. Tujak's Restaurant. Get your tickets now.
Gwen.
Peter Harris on bass, Oscar Rossignoli on piano, Cyril May singing at the Bayou Bar at the Punch Train Hotel. This is going to be Thursday, May 11th, 7:30. you should be there.
That's going to be incredible.
Yeah,
The
it's gonna
Bayou
be
Bar.
wonderful. And Pedro Segundo on drums.
Ooh, very good, very good. Alan.
Okay, so next week we'll bring about the annual spring show that the NOLA Project has in the Sydney and Waldo Bostoff Sculpture Garden. It's the NOLA Project and the New Orleans Museum of Art who are partnered together. They're going to be presenting Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. That may sound familiar because 10 years ago, it was the very first production they did in that sculpture garden. So best wishes also. I want to give a shout out to Brittany Williams, who's going to be directing it, but also the artistic director, A.J. Allegra, who just announced this week he's leaving his teaching post at the Willow School, my former alma mater at Fort Jay. So again, best wishes to him, and I'll see you at the theater.
All right, thank you very much. And now my picks. Art galleries from the 300 to 700 blocks of Julia Street. They'll be open from 5 to 10 p.m. on Saturday for Jammin' on Julia. Double-check gallery hours around them. Among my suggestions would be Carol Halleck at Gallery 600, George Schmidt Gallery, and the new Freddie Guest Gallery, too. The New Orleans Children's Chorus will hold their annual spring concert on Sunday at 3 p.m. at St. Paul's Episcopal Church on Canal Boulevard. And we want to also congratulate Cheryl Duran-DuPont, 36 years as the head, the artistic and creative head and executive director of the Children's Chorus. We wish her well. She will still be doing, though, their annual choral festival, which will be starting in June. So check that out on their website. That's June the 23rd. Thank you all so very much. We now leave you with more from the Continental Drifters, the song Don't Do What I Did from their album Vermilion. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Oh, we are always ready, as you can well see.
Don't do what I did. Don't do what I have done. Turning the world against you, all in the name of having fun. You'll only feel ashamed. You'll have yourself to blame, like I did. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. Don't break a beating heart. Don't try to rend asunder what no man should tear apart. You'll only feel so bad. You'll only wish you had it done like I did. Don't do what I have done. All the love I ever had, only ever wanted bad, bad enough to wind up dead. All the rules I have made, all the best plans ever laid, only wind up shot instead. All that I did, you break your own heart first. If you're miserable now, just wait.
Steppin' Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a continued passion for public television, we are proud to underwrite Steppin' Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES Television.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. The American Italian Cultural Center and Museum on South Peters in New Orleans offers event venue space, Italian language classes, dual citizenship and translation services, seminars, genealogy, and trips to Italy. Ciao, AmericanItalianCulturalCenter.com. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area.